realization of complete humanity. You see, to take the sins of the world unto yourself is to realize that, is to understand the Nazi concentration camp guard. Because that person is human, and so are you. And so if you can't see you in that, then you don't know who you are. And if you can see you in that, well, then you've started to take the sins of the world onto yourself, because you've actually started to take responsibility for those terrible things. You know, I think it's the motif of the motto of the Holocaust Museum in Washington. We must never forget. That's close. And I think, well, you can't forget. You can't remember what you don't understand. You will forget what you don't understand. And the question is, well, what are you supposed to remember about the Holocaust? It was a historical event, that 6 million people died. That's not what's to remember. What's to remember is that's what people can do. And you're one of them. And if you don't understand that you could do that, then you don't know who you are. So God's making a case here. He's making a case that the people of Sodom and Gomorrah have sinned, and it's making a large racket that even God has heard about. That's a very common mythological motif, by the way, that the sins and what would you call it? The sins and noise of humanity can reach such a clamor that even the gods hear and are forced to intervene. That comes all the way from the Mesopotamian creation story. So anyways, it's logical. Yeah, they're sinning. Okay, well, so what? Well, no, not so what. It means that God's offended and that everything is at risk. That's what it means. It's like that's something worth taking seriously. And the men turned their faces from thence and went towards Sodom. But Abraham stood yet before the Lord. And Abraham drew near and said, "Will thou also destroy the righteous with the wicked?" This is a very interesting part of the story. A friend of mine took me to task the other day when I was writing about portraying the Old Testament God as pretty harsh and judgmental, and the New Testament God is sort of all loving, which he isn't, because there's the whole book of Revelations thing. But I got that partly from reading Northrop Frye. But going through the Old Testament in more detail, I realized that is a too low resolution interpretation, and that God, who's dispensing a fair bit of harsh justice in the Old Testament, is also someone who can be negotiated with, weirdly enough. And that's what happens here. You know, Abraham has just been told that whatever's going on in Sodom and Gomorrah is seriously not good, and that God's going to do something about it. And he takes it upon himself, this is an act of mercy, to ask God to be a bit more judicious, right? It's like, okay, you're going to wipe out the city. Well, bad things are happening there, but you know, there's probably a few people in the damn city that aren't completely corrupted by what's going on there. Of course, that's an open question. You know, because it's an open question, for example, how many people there were in Nazi Germany who weren't completely corrupted by what was going on in Nazi Germany. And the same thing could be said about Maoist China, and the same thing could be said about the Soviet Union. It's like, well, perhaps there was a person somewhere who didn't understand at some level what was happening, but, you know, the whole issue of willful blindness certainly springs to mind, if nothing else. Anyways, Abraham decides to intercede with God on behalf of these people who are going to be destroyed. He says, "Will thou also destroy the righteous with the wicked? Perhaps there be 50 righteous people within the city. Will you also destroy and not spare the place for the 50 righteous that are there? That be far from thee to do after this manner." He's kind of reminding God that he's a good guy, as far as I can tell. "To slay the righteous with the wicked, and that the righteous should be as the wicked. That be far from thee. Should not the judge of the earth do right?" And the Lord said, "If I find in Sodom 50 right," he seems a bit taken aback here to me. "If I find in Sodom 50 righteous within the city, then I will spare the place for their sakes." And Abraham answered and said, "Behold, now I have taken upon me to speak upon the Lord, unto the Lord, but I am but dust and ashes. Possibly there shall lack 5 of the 50 righteous. Wilt thou destroy all the city for lack of 5? And God said, "If I find there 45, I will not destroy it." And Abraham spoke unto him yet again and said, he's kind of sneaking up on God here. "Peradventure there shall be 40 found there." And he said, "I will not do it for 40's sake." And he said unto him, oh, let the Lord not be angry, and I will speak. Possibly there shall be 30 found there. And God said, I won't do it if I find 30 there. And Abraham, who seems really to be pushing his luck by this point, says, behold, I have taken upon me to speak unto the Lord. Possibly there shall be 20 found there. And God said, I won't destroy it for 20's sake. And he said, oh, let the Lord not be angry, and I will speak yet, but this once, perhaps 10 shall be found there. And he said, I will not destroy it for 10's sake. And the Lord went his way, and as soon as he had left communing with Abraham, and Abraham returned unto his place. Well, there's two ways you can read that part of the story. One is that, three, let's say, you can bargain with God, even if you're kind of annoying about it, so that's kind of interesting. And the second is that even if there's a minority of good in a place that isn't good, it won't be slated for destruction. That's kind of a good thing. And the third is, a minority of good in a place can keep it from being destroyed. And that's a really good thing too, and I believe that as well. I think that good is more powerful than evil. Naivety isn't, but I think that good is. And I think that in a place that's corrupt, a minority of people who stand forth against the corruption can prevail. Now, you know, I think one of the best examples of that, again, was Alexander Solzhenitsyn, because he was in the terrible work camps when he wrote his book. He memorized most of it, which is not an easy thing to do when it's... You know, I think one of the best examples of that, again, was Alexander Solzhenitsyn, because he was in the terrible work camps when he wrote his book. He memorized most of it, which is not an easy thing to do when it's 2,100 pages long and set in very tiny font. He memorized most of it, and then he wrote it. And it was one of the things that brought down the Soviet Union. You know, it was published in the 1970s, first of all in the West. And the first thing that happened, at least initially, was that the communism as an ethical system lost absolutely all credibility whatsoever among anyone who is even vaguely educated immediately upon the publication of the Gulag Archipelago. He pulled the moral slats out from underneath it. And the book was definitely one of the reasons, there were many, but was definitely one of the reasons why the rotten system crumbled and fell without a war. And that's a great example of how one person can take on a tyranny and prevail. So, and he's not the only person who did that sort of thing, because, well, Gandhi did the same thing. I mean, I don't think the English were the Russians, but, you know, things were not so good in India. And what Gandhi did in India, under the influence, by the way, of Leo Tolstoy, was also a remarkable example of a single person intervening in a catastrophe and setting it far more right than it could be. So, and there came two angels to Sodom at evening, and Lot, remember Lot is Abraham's nephew, sat in the gate of Sodom, and Lot, seeing them, rose up to meet them, and he bowed himself with his face toward the ground. And he said, behold, my lords, I turn in, I pray you, into your servant's house, and tarry all night, and wash your feet, and ye shall rise up early and go on your ways. Now he's Abraham's nephew and kinsman, and acting in exactly the manner that Abraham does. He shows hospitality to these people. And they said, no, we'll stay in the street all night. And he insisted, he pressed upon them greatly, and they turned in unto him and entered into his house. And he made them a feast and baked unleavened bread, and they did eat. But before they lay down, the men of the city, even the men of Sodom, compassed the house round, both old and young, all the people from every quarter. And they called unto Lot and said unto him, where are the men which came into thee this night? Bring them out to us, that we may know them. Well, that's the part of the story that's been used as a diatribe, let's say, against homosexuality, because to know is to engage in sexual intercourse, and the inhabitants of Sodom and Gomorrah were willing to tear the strangers out of Lot's house and use and abuse them as they saw fit, right? And so what are they doing? Well, they're violating the principles that govern appropriate conduct with the stranger. And maybe the stranger is something you shouldn't mess with because you don't know who you're messing with. So that's like warning number one. Well, and they're violating the essential principles of hospitality. And then there's the sexual thing here, I think, isn't the sexual thing here is something more like the absolute danger of immediate gratification, sexual included, outside the constraints of any civilized structure whatsoever, right? Because that's as uncivilized behavior as you could possibly hope for, right? Strangers come into your city, they're in the house of someone who's part of your city, they're being shown hospitality, a mob shows up and says, fork them over, man. We're gonna do whatever the hell we want to them, and it's not gonna be good. And if you get in the way, things are gonna go even worse for you. So that's what it seems to me to be. It's completely dysregulated behavior. It's behavior that's outside the confines of any civilized structure whatsoever. It's an indication that the social structure of the entire society has collapsed so that there's nothing left for the inhabitants to do except to engage in the most brutal of immediate gratification and destruction. Well, so what does Lot do? I pray thee, brethren, do not do so wickedly. Behold now, I have 2 daughters which have not yet known man. Let me, I pray you, bring them out unto you, and you do to them as is good in your eyes. Only unto these men do nothing. And therefore came thee under the shadow of my roof. Well, it's hard to know what to make of that, you know. I mean, it doesn't exactly seem like the advisable thing for Lot to do. But I think at least what it is an indication of the degree to which he took the solemn vow of hospitality seriously. And I think that's the idea that the story is trying to promote. And the angel said, stand back. Oh, and the men said, stand back. And they said again, this one fellow came in to sojourn to talk to us, and he will needs be a judge. Now we'll deal worse with him than with them. And they pressed sore upon the man, even Lot, and came near to break the door. Maybe what Lot thought was something like, well, we're done. Like, we're all done with this mob. And perhaps I can spare some of us. And they pressed sore upon the man, even Lot, and came near to break the door. But the men, this is the angels, put forth their hand and pulled Lot into the house to them and shut the door. And they smote the men that were at the door of the house with blindness, both small and great, so that they wearied themselves to find the door. So they were so corrupt that they were blind and could not see now, even to find the door. And the men then said unto Lot, hast thou here any family members, son-in-law, and thy sons and thy daughters, and whoever thou hast in this city, get them out of the place, for we will destroy this place, because of the cry of them is waxen great before the face of the Lord, and the Lord has sent us to destroy it. And Lot went out and spake unto his sons-in-law, which married his daughters, and said, up, you get out of this place, for the Lord will destroy this city. But he seemed as one that mocked unto his sons-in-law. And when the morning arose, then the angels hastened Lot, saying, arise, take thy wife and thy 2 daughters which are here, lest thou be consumed in the iniquity of the city. And while he lingered, the man laid hold upon his hands, and upon the hand of his wife, and upon the hand of his 2 daughters, the Lord being merciful unto him. And they brought him forth and set him without the city. So, this is an indication of the danger of not acting with appropriate haste when the time has come. I mean, Lot's already seen what happened. He saw that the men came to his door. He saw that they were murderous rapists. He saw that the angels took them out. And he's still hesitant to leave that place. And so I guess one of the things that this story requires people to ask themselves is, are you in a place that's so bad that you should leave?
Yes.
Or when are you in a place that's so bad that you should leave? And if you are in a place that's so bad that you should leave, then the time to leave is now. because there's no time to waste. And it came to pass when they had brought them forth abroad that he said, escape for thy life, look not behind you, neither stay thou in all the plain, escape to the mountain, lest thou be consumed. And Lot said to them, oh, not so, my Lord. Behold now, thy servant hath found grace in thy sight, and thou hast magnified thy mercy, which thou hast showed me into saving my life. But I cannot escape to the mountain, lest some evil take me, and I die. Behold now, there's a city near to flee unto, and it's a little one, which means maybe it's not big and corrupt like Sodom and Gomorrah. Oh, let me escape thither. Is it not a little one, and my soul shall live? Matthew Henry said, Lot lingered, he trifled. Thus many who are under convictions about their spiritual state and the necessity of a change defer that needful work. And he said unto him, see, I've accepted thee, the angel. And he said unto him, see, I have accepted thee concerning this thing also, that I will not overthrow this city for the which thou hast spoken, the small city. Haste thee, escape thither, for I cannot do anything till thou be gone hither. Therefore the name of the city was Zor. That's where Lot went. The sun was risen upon the earth when Lot entered into Zor. Then the Lord rained upon Sodom and upon Gomorrah brimstone and fire from the Lord out of heaven. And he overthrew the cities and all the plain and all the inhabitants of the cities and that which grew upon the ground. But his wife looked back from behind him, and she became a pillar of salt. No nostalgia for catastrophe. I think that's what that means, is that when you leave what's not good, you wash the dust off your feet and you don't look back. And that's a very harsh lesson.
Is that right?
Out of heaven. And he overthrew the cities and all the plain and all the inhabitants of the cities and that which grew upon the ground. But his wife looked back from behind him, and she became a pillar of salt. No nostalgia for catastrophe. I think that's what that means, is that when you leave what's not good, you wash the dust off your feet and you don't look back. And that's a very harsh lesson. This is echoed a bit in the New Testament. The idea of the necessity for immediate action. These are some of the harsher words that Christ said. This is from Matthew 8. Christ is addressing a multitude and asking people to follow him. And a disciple comes up to him and says, Lord, suffer me first to go and bury my father. Seems like a perfectly reasonable request. But Jesus said unto him, follow me and let the dead bury their dead. This is from Matthew 12. While he yet talked to the people, behold, his mother and his brethren stood without, desiring to speak with him. Then one said to him, behold, thy mother and thy brethren stand without, desiring to speak with thee. But Jesus answered the one who was telling him and said, who is my mother and who is my brothers? For whosoever shall do the will of my Father which is in heaven, the same is my brother and sister and mother. Well, what does all that mean? It means that there's no excuses whatsoever for not getting up and getting at it. That's what it means. And it means that
Insanity.
It even means that when people are beset with a catastrophe, like let's say the death of their father, that they are prone to use that as an excuse for not going about the business that they should be going about. Because they can say to themselves, well, I would accept. And accept, there's always good reasons. I mean, believe me, there's always good reasons for not doing what you should. That's for sure. The reasons pile up day after day to not do what you should, especially because you're aiming at things in the future. You can put them off indefinitely, right? Because of the demands of the day. But these stories, they say a variety of things, you know, and especially in combination. They say, when you leave somewhere terrible, do not look back. There's no nostalgia. That's the letting the dead parts of yourself go.
And
then if you're going to follow the good, there's no excuse not to do it. And it means no excuse whatsoever under any circumstances. And then it's taken even farther with regards to familial relationships. It is, you can't even let them stand in your way. And I think that's all true. And I think I've seen virtually all of that in my clinical practice. Like there's no excuse whatsoever for not getting at what it is that you should be doing. And I think there's something else that's going on here, especially in the New Testament stories, which is even maybe worse, which is it's absolutely reprehensible to justify your inaction with a catastrophe that extracts mercy from other people, right? There's a tricky game that's going, well, of course I can't do that. Look at the terrible thing that's just happened to me. It's, yeah, okay, I understand. You're absolved of any necessity to move forward because of your current catastrophe. It's like, well, actually you're not. And it's rather rude of you to use it as an excuse. And it's certainly counterproductive. And Abraham got up early in the morning to the place where he stood before the Lord, and he looked toward Sodom and Gomorrah and toward the land of the plain, and behold, and lo, the smoke of the country went up as the smoke of a furnace. And it came to pass when God destroyed the cities of the plain that God remembered Abraham and sent Lot out of the midst of the overthrow, when he overthrew the cities in the which Lot dwelt. And Lot went out of Zoar and dwelt in the mountain, and his 2 daughters with him, for he feared to dwell in Zoar. And he dwelt in a cave, he and his 2 daughters. And the firstborn said unto the younger, Our father is old, and there's not a man in the earth to come into us after the manner of all the earth. Come, let us make our father drink wine, and we will lie with him, that we may preserve the seed of our father. And they made their father drink wine that night, and the firstborn went in and lay with her father, and he perceived not when she lay down, nor when she arose. And it came to pass on the morrow that the firstborn said unto the younger, Behold, I lay yesternight with my father. Let us make him drink wine this night also.
Okay, hold on, Violet. Wait for me. Oh, whoops, dope. Craziness. Hold on, baby. 1 second. I gotta still pee first. Let me go to the bathroom first, and then we'll take you, and then we'll go to get cigarettes, and then we'll go find Josh. What the hell is the fucking... What the fuck? Oh, I'm tripping. A little bit drunk. See, this is why I don't drink, because I'm not very good at it anymore. I've forgotten to learn how to be a functioning alcoholic the way I used to professionally be. God, I used to be good at that shit. Okay, I'm coming, my dear. I'm coming. All we have to do is my keys. Oh my god. I'll take butane because it's, you never know. You know? You never can know. Okay, hold on, baby. 1 second. Where are my keys? Fuck it, duck. I'm not gonna get very far if I don't find them regardless, you know? Sorry. Well, I guess I'll take care of one foot just in case. God damn it, where are the keys to my car? So I'm not gonna get, like I said, in the car without them anyways. Son of a whore. It's a pain in the ass, isn't it? Looking for car keys. Remember? Big blue things go to the vehicle that we drive. No. Huh? There they are. Yeah. And the torch. That's freaking awesome. Okay. I mean, it's not running out of actually, anyways. Oh, that's bad. Battery's low, huh? So, well, it's weird. And the generator was just on. Let's take these minutes also. Okay, you ready? And I'll grab frozen water. Yeah. Lots of burgers in that nose, huh? Okay. Yes, it is not. As soon as you can see. Oh, should I let this open? Fuck this stupid ice cream, right? Fuck it. Obviously, I didn't want it underneath it anyways. If it did, you fucking baby over here every fucking day trying to make some. She uses it to make drinks and shit for everybody. Douchebag. Oh, why is this such a monstrous douchebag? Okay, here we go. Wipes. Cortisone for Violet, just in case. I can tell. Gas cans. I'm gonna have to make 2 trips to the car. I want both of those because I want both of them. You know how it is. Okay. Okay. I can handle it. I can do it. Totally. Okay. Let's do one thing at a time. So get these things. Okay. And out to the car. And the like, just in case. Like I said, right? Oh, yes, you're so excited. Well, you should be. No, there's a kind of events already going on with her thinking. Good girl. Okay, torchlighter. What else? Anything? Walls are always good to have. Phones, butane, tennis ball. I can tell. What we're gonna need. 20,000 things. 20,000 fucking things. I'm feeling sick already. I swear to God. That's all I need. Gas cans, son of a bitch. I need 2 of them, don't I? They both have gas in them? Ugh, son of a whore. They do. Oh my God, I'm so stupid. I'm tired. Okay. Alright, let's check this out. This is how we're gonna do it, okay? So, okay, the other goddamn time. This is how we do it. Anyway. Straws. Oh my God. This is why I don't drink. I suck at it. Anyway. Oh my God. Alright. Such a good little mom as you are. Is the screen recording right now? My lord,